what do you think about holding space? Which group? Is there a group? Is there a community that you feel like has held space for you? And
Mhm.
what has that actually looked like in practical terms?
I think for me, number one has been my mom. Funny enough, I'm her only daughter. And she knows me to have very bold ideas. Sometimes I tell her what I want to do, and she's like, huh? How are you going to do that? And I'm like, we're going to do it. And I come back to her and I'm like, I did it. And she's like, wow.
Yeah.
One time she even told me, and this is not like an African, I guess it's not really an African thing to say, but she was like, I should have given birth to you a boy. But then, this whole wave of African mothers also feeling like their daughters have done so much more for them than their sons. So I'm usually like, God gave you what you needed. But outside of family, it's been peer to peer a lot because I think that within the age group I'm in, millennials in their early 30s, we've had to make a lot of adjustments, not just from a career perspective, but also in terms of what you choose to study and how it really feeds into how the world is evolving, right? Especially when it comes to technology disruptions. And so having that ecosystem of young women who are equally driven and really curious, not shy to try new things, someone who's been in different spaces, different career paths and roles. That's really been a great support system for me because I felt initially when I was starting in my journey and I was exploring mentors who are probably in the second group of millennials. And you'd hear most of them saying that you need to choose one path and really stay on course and really maximize and figure out how to grow within that one path. And at that time my mindset was more like, what if I could explore two, three paths at the same time and just really learn across these different paths and see what really works for me? So I think from a peer-to-peer perspective, it's been very, very I guess surreal just to see you're in this in spaces with equally young women who have also struggled with the same things you struggled with. What you're sharing with them doesn't sound like, bizarre or, you're
Yeah.
all dealing with new challenges and trying to navigate this career journey. So peer to peer is a big one. And then the final one is groups like this. I think living room conversations also really helps us think through things that usually we would put at the back of our minds, right? You really, really help us um, face the realities that we do experience day to day, but don't really pay as much thought. So having these kinds of conversations also really helps, and seeing that there's different like from last conversation to this conversation, there's also a lot of evolution. Congratulations to Nyawera on her new role. Just the last conversation she was talking about how she was getting into ed tech, trying to figure out what that was about, and now she's on a new journey. And that's what I'm talking about in terms of peer-to-peer experiences that people within the ecosystem have also gone through, and you don't really feel like you're alone. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, I mean that's great. And I know you might have to leave us for a few minutes, but I love that. So peer to peer, and this is this group, and I'm hoping that as we open it up to more people will actually, because that's, I think maybe selfishly that's why I really wanted to get to a point where I can talk to women who are my age, going through similar things. So we're going through life together, and we can have honest conversations, and then hopefully give more I think give that space to more people to actually have the same conversations, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that's so critical, and I love that you are able. And one of the things I have to tell you, I'm jealous about the fact that you can, like, you keep friends. Like I can count my friends, and I really good friends in like one or
Mm-hmm.
like, but you seem to have really kept good friends for a long time over time. And I always really wonder, I'm like, oh my gosh, how is she able to do that?
Mm-hmm.
um and it sounds like peer to peer, because you actually fine, maybe you're feeding from that. So that makes sense that you're actually working really hard to keep those relationships, because I don't know how you do it. I'm not sure about the rest of the women here. I have like 10 friends, and those 10 friends, I just want to make sure they're alive every week, and then we catch up maybe once every 3 months if we're lucky. But yeah, so Nyawera, you have, so like now you're the one that I know that has many groups. I don't even know how many groups you're part of now. And I know some of them have women and the others are, and you are also a biker. Gosh, I think you should talk about it a little bit, because I don't know where in my life I'll ever experience a biker woman. So I'm curious to hear what holding space for you actually looks like, and how you do that, and how do you make sure that you're holding space for others, because I see that you do that quite for a bit, and it's both actually for men and women. But how do you hold space for yourself when you are part of these large groups all the time?
Well, where do I start? I think I'll I don't want to say it comes easy to me, but then I feel like I have experienced it through my mom, my grandma. And so I know that, when you're needed, you have to check in, and then I think also being a firstborn plays a big role, that there's no downtime. There's just no downtime. There's always something that needs to be done. And when there's nothing, you need to question and ask yourself, did the world leave me behind? Because why is everything quiet? So yeah, and then also I think this has also been very intentional the last 5 years of my life. Let's say since 2019, where I went through a very tough time with my family, and the sense of community that came around to support us really opened my heart and my eyes to other people. And I said, you know what? If all these people came just to comfort me and my family, then why am I not trying? I need to make that effort, because, like I've said, seeing my mom and my shosho and seeing the love that was poured for them, yeah, made me want that kind of love poured to me. But you see, you can't reap where you haven't sowed. Yeah. So, being intentional about some of those things. For biking, I'm very passionate. I'm one of those people, I get on my bike and don't tell anyone, but deep down inside, I'm like, Lord, please let me come back home every single time, But my sense of community is that should I have a mishap, right? I'm hoping that the goodness of people, the goodness that I have in my heart for another biker will be avenged to me. You know what I mean? So it's not that it's not a popularity contest for me, but it's what are we doing to ensure that we're safe, so that Nyawera and others can go and come back, so that if Divine wants to start riding, it doesn't put me down the day she falls down and then her whole world comes apart, but she did it because she thought I was cool, right? So again, some of it is strategic, because what is the goal? There's a goal to it. Some of it is strategic and some of it is sacred. Like, they're just people I want to have close to me because they make me a better person. They make me want to do better. You hang out to Divine, you go for a function with her, she's like the mayor. And you're like, hey, where? Ha!
This is the woman who was, I think, what was the summit that you were at recently? And I was,
I don't even talk, because you were the mayor, and then I had to find, I had to find someone at least, and then where, lo and behold, the Lord sent me somebody from my past.
Well, then don't attend events with Vanessa. If you think Vanessa is she's out there with ex-presidents, who is who, and I'm like, no, that's the one you like. I'm cool. I'm just actually very low key. It's Vanessa you have to worry about, not me.
Yeah, so I think for me that the fact that there's strategy to wanting a better place, wanting a better neighborhood. And how do I do that? By engaging the community that thinks like me, wants the same things as me, because it's from there that we're gonna be able to build something that suits all of us. Yeah. So yeah.
I love that. I love that. So I'm kind of curious, you know, I'm kind of picking based on where you are, like what has actually hold about this. So this question came deeply just looking, I think I've known you for now almost 10 years now. I feel like it's almost 10 years. At least the first encounter we had, if it wasn't 10 years ago, it's close to 10 years. And one of the things that I mean, I watch the way you carry yourself, the way, and being very intentional about the spaces, at least that's what it seems to on this side. So I'm always curious about this. Like, in what ways have you felt expected to hold space for others? And because you are part of these communities also at work, and how has that shaped you? How has that shaped how you show up? And the communities also you build around you. Vanessa, are you there? On mute.
You know, my it had frozen a bit, so I thought you were still talking to Nyawera. Sorry about that. But I think I heard part of the question. So for me, so I think over time, what has happened is more responsibilities have come to me, and I have to admit that how do I put this? So for ladies out there, you know, sometimes we transition, and unlike Nyawera, I was okay. I am my mother's last born and my father's middle child. Yes, I know it's a bit complicated, but yes. So, but I've always been honestly been taken care of. I've always been the one that, I had to be strong, but people always came through for me, and I'd always been the one like people take care of, people like help. People are like, no, we have to help her grow because we see potential. I've always, even mentors, like, let's hold her hand and walk. And I think over the last 2 years, what has happened is now I've had to become that responsible person for someone else. And I think one of the things that happen is I am, and those are one of the things I would say the past year has been happening to me. So one of the things is how to handle that, how to handle the responsibilities, how to like manage what is expected, because sometimes people expect things from you, so you have to also know what people are expecting, manage it, and how to now hold space. So now I started realizing that I'm now in a position where I have to hold space for other people. I'm now becoming the big sister. I'm now becoming the auntie or whatever it is. I'm now becoming the new country director. I'm now, so all that has happened. And and it's now like me being responsible. So that means I have to like my mindset has to change. The way I do things cannot be the same way I've been doing things before. As things have changed mentally, how have I changed? Emotionally, how have I changed? Because as things are changing, you also have to grow. That's inevitable. So I never wanted to admit some of these things, and admit in the sense that I was getting overwhelmed, like sometimes I'm like, why are people coming, to me? Why, I would get overwhelmed and things like that. Because sometimes it's what I was not able to handle was sometimes the overload, like, oh, I'm handling this, I'm handling this, I'm handling this. So I would feel like, oh, why, like, this weight over me. So I had to sit down and realize that wow, like I'm in a new chapter in my life, and the problem was me accepting and learning how to now cope with this new chapter. So I had to vet myself. So one thing I tell people, even like when I talk to people or mentor people, because I was running away also from that. People are like, oh, you have to mentor. There are things you've experienced in your life that I haven't yet come out. There's so much I've experienced that there's a lot I know I have to do. And people ask me, how do you do it? And one thing I say, the first step is you guys have to be honest about yourself and vet yourself. Like, if you can't be honest with yourself, if you can't sit down, like, I would say the first sign of you not being honest with yourself and ready for growth is if you can't go on a date with yourself. Like, today I'm going to Java and I'm just going to buy myself a drink and eat and have like fun with myself and just enjoy, then there's a problem. For growth, you have to be able to be honest with yourself, vet yourself, tell yourself where you have to grow, tell yourself the things you have to change, and then now see what you can give back. Because if you can't give what you don't have. So for me, was I think the change for me has been, it was overwhelming because there's a new chapter that came into my life, and I had to now start holding space for other people in a way I've never done for. So it was overwhelming. And now by the time I got to understand that, Vanessa, you're now this person, you now have to be the one to be there for other people. Now I had to now work on myself as well and take new responsibilities and now start working on being that change and holding the space right, because I have to be able to be a blessing and do it correctly so that I leave people in a better place. I leave the space that I hold in a better place, and also so that I'm also able to handle everything that has come on my plate. Yeah.
But that, I mean, that is definitely something that I think one of the things you said, and it just kind of triggered. I'm like, oh my gosh, we are now the responsible human beings we were looking up to. When we used to look up to people, we're we're the guys that are like anti-David. I'm like, wow, okay. But let's talk about the one. In fact, this one I'm curious. It's Kate. So Kate, you're the only mom. As much as we talk about holding space, you hold so many hats. You are a mother, then you have friends like us who are here bothering you on a Monday night when you're supposed to be running a business. You are then you're also a business owner, you are a wife, I mean, sister. I mean, I know the many hats that you hold, and not to say that others don't hold the same hats, but in this group you really actually are, you're the only mother. And so I'm curious about how are you able to hold space, and what are the things, I think I want to hear the habits that you've built that allow you to hold space for yourself, as you try to hold space for everybody else. What are the habits, what are the tricks of the trade to make sure that you also don't go berserk?
I think I can start off first. We rewind kidogo, we go back to where I've come from to where I am right now. And it's about, like, for the people who believe in zodiac signs, I would be a Cancer. Now, those are people who are categorized as loving, caring, empathetic, all that. Then me as Kate, how I know myself, I lean so much to kindness, to being a problem solver. I really want everyone to be catered for, everyone to be, to feel, to strengthen someone, to uplift someone, to to make sure that everyone is comfortable. And so that's just me naturally. I don't want to see anyone in pain. I don't want to see someone in turmoil. I want to help. I want to jump in and rescue and, everything. And for a while, I had not realized that that's actually, like who I am. And so with that came a lot, because I used to carry so much weight with that. I won't be comfortable until my mom is comfortable, or like my sister is comfortable, or at least the watchman is taken care of. Like I used to cater to everyone. But then there came grief, loss. And from that loss, me being who I am, I was the one running up and down, a loss of a parent. So I'm running up and down. I'm trying to execution everything. Not I'm trying, I'm actually executing everything. Up and down, making sure everything is in order. It was in a very bad time as well. So there was no much support that was coming in. So support in the sense of availability, people being available. There were times where borders were, there was lockdown on borders, there were curfews, there were everything happening. And so it was a bit hard. And because I know I have the ability to jump in and do and rescue here, do this, do that, I immersed myself into all of that. I didn't have much of a choice per se, but still I did it anyway. I can. And because of that situation, particularly after the burial, the funeral, everything, after a while, I started developing health problems. And I didn't realize what it was. It was, like we are dealing with being told it could be general anxiety disorder. So I'm being treated for that, treated for this. And it kept on going for a while. We're looking all kinds of tests, nothing is being found. Then eventually, the rheumatologist said, now, this is what we're actually dealing with right now, the condition fibromyalgia, which is a neurological condition that deals, nerves and pain. So I was feeling so much pain. You don't know the source of the pain. There is nothing that you can point that this is where it has emanated from, like a workout or anything. So apparently that, because I did not grieve enough, all the grief that was processing, because I'm not like crying it out or doing anything like that, or talking to someone like a counselor or anything, now it manifested in my body. And so my body could not process pain. Now my body is the one that was now physically, the pain that was mental or psychological now became physical pain. So from there, then, over time, through medication and everything, we've been dealing with it. It's, but also I had now to change a few things in my life. And one of the things that I really had to change was how I'm holding space for others, because I realized I'm doing that so much. I'm pouring out so much, and because I'm very, I'm very intuitive, I'm very concerned with everyone's welfare, then it's so much weight on myself. And I did not realize this. So now, slowly through counseling, through uh, doctor visits and all that, I had to let go of some of those things for myself to heal, to start healing. And so it also changed my perception on how I want to hold space, if I want to heal, if I want to continue this journey, if I want to now live at least comfortably without so much pain and anguish and carrying everyone's weight. I had to let go some of these things. And one of them is, like holding space, that I had to learn that I cannot do everything. I cannot be everyone's umbrella. I cannot be everyone's weight bearer, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah. And so slowly by slowly, I've come to let go of some things. They don't bug me as much because they used to, really. If I know someone is suffering somewhere, and sometimes it's something I really cannot change or I cannot do anything about, but because that's innate, I used to really struggle a lot. So I had to shift some of those things and come to a realization and to take action on the things I can take and the things that if they're beyond my own, strength or capacity, then I need to chill out. I need to
Okay.
chill out. I can only give so much. And so I have learned slowly by slowly, and I'm realizing even mentally, I'm feeling uh, less, like weight has been lifted off. So it had to be like a mental shift altogether. In the beginning, it was a struggle. It was a struggle. Like I really need to. Then I have to stop midway and go like, okay, Kate, you're not Superman. You're not God. You cannot do everything. The
Yeah.
best you can do is that you can, if you are able to do it, you're able to do it. You can also pass it over to someone else. Like you can help, ask for help also. Help me in this situation. Please take over. Take this over. Take this from me. And slowly and slowly, I'm learning that new me. It's a learning process because sometimes I fall back, then I have to, to slow down.
Yeah.
I breathe a lot, especially in situations where I feel like, oh my gosh, if only I can help, then I have to take. Now, those are some of the things that I've that I've come to practice. Like just breathing in and out and reminding myself that I am not God. There is only so much I can do, and trust me, the little you can do, someone will appreciate that. As long as you know it's from the bottom of your heart and that's exactly what you can do. I stop feeling guilty. I stop feeling, I stop feeling like it's the end of the world that I am not able to help. So I just take a chill pill. I listen to my music. I kind of step back and take it all in and decide, Kate, this you can do, and Kate, this you cannot do. So